Mario Kart DS is one of the most unique Mario Kart games in the entire series. I mean, you can literally play as Rob the Robot in it. Take that, Smash Bros. With that being said, it only makes sense that the tracks introduced in this game would be just as unique, right? Well, actually, yeah, they are. I mean, in the battle mode, you can play on a physical DS in the middle of space. Why can't Nintendo do nice things like that anymore? Much like nearly every other game of the franchise, Mario Kart DS features 16 new tracks spanning from the Mushroom Cup to the Special Cup. While this was the first Mario Kart game to include the Retro Cups with remastered tracks, I'll only be focusing on the Nitro courses in this video, primarily because the DS tracks are very unique and interesting to look at. That, and I find the Retro courses of this game to be incredibly boring. Sorry, Baby Park, you're overrated. How this will work is that I will go through every course in sequential order. The main aspects of a track that may make it good or bad depend on these factors here. Layout will refer to how the track plays, how the twists and turns make it fun to play on, or maybe not so fun. Next is the overall theme of the track, which takes an in-depth look at how the track makes you feel and its overall style. Basically, does it look cool or does it look boring? And finally, the music, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now, without further ado, my name is Alex the Bot, and let's rank every Nitro track in Mario Kart DS. Starting with the very first course in the game, Figure 8 Circuit is very similar to every other first track in the Mario Kart games, being a stadium-like appearance with fans roaring in the background. These tracks can be really good as seen with Mario Kart Stadium and... Okay, these tracks can be boring. In Mario Kart DS, it keeps its stadium style very well, and for that it's not a terrible track, but the layout is just a figure 8, as the title would suggest. It's so boring to play on no matter how fast you're going. As for its music, it's alright, I guess. The beginning is sorta nice, but after that, it kinda just sounds like a menu theme. If you listen to this track without gameplay, I guarantee that you would also mistake it for a menu theme as well. With that in mind, it's going to the C tier. Not very good, but it could be worse. Thankfully, right after Figure 8 Circuit, you get to play on Yoshi Falls, which is a much better track. I think the first important thing to mention is the music of this track. It does a very good job of sounding like Mario Kart, but also taking heavy inspiration from Yoshi's Island. Speaking of Yoshi's Island, can we talk about how gorgeous this track looks? It's just a whole bunch of waterfalls in a jungle that leads to this one tiny lake with a giant Yoshi egg in the middle. That may not sound that cool on paper, but during gameplay, everything looks really nice. But seriously, why is there a giant Yoshi egg in the middle? It makes zero sense here, but somehow also fits in with the rest of the stage. I don't get it. As for this track's layout, it's really simple in a good way. Yoshi Falls does a great job of implementing the environment with the stage, simply by using the waterfalls seen in the background as actual obstacles you drive through as a potential time save during your race. It's really cool. For me, Yoshi falls easily into A rank, as while it is a good track, it is still a glorified circle, which could have been a little cooler in my opinion. Beach tracks are always fun, no matter which racing game you see them in. Cheap Cheap Beach is an especially fun one. It feels so immersive for a 2005 DS game. I mean, let's see how the track plays out. It starts you at a boardwalk, then through some rock formations, through the beach itself littered with Cheap Cheeps and Sidesteppers, yes that's their actual name, I searched it up, and finally, through this little forest area and back to the starting line. The continuity of this track is great, with one small flaw. At the beach area, everything past the shoreline just looks so... empty. Yes, I know, it's water, you can't put much there, but I mean a boat or a couple islands would enhance this track a lot. Other than that, the layout feels much less of a boring circle you drive on like Yoshi Falls and Figure 8 Circuit, and more like an actual track, making it a really fun one to play. Its music is really good as well, doing what Nintendo does best when making beach levels. Steel drums! While these elements do make the track really fun, the nothingness past the water in this stage is really distracting from its otherwise great qualities, which is why Cheap Cheap Beach is gonna go in the B tier. I love Luigi's Mansion. Almost everything about it is so good. First of all, it is insanely cool to see a location from an actual Mario game, or in this case, I guess, Luigi game, in the Mario Kart series. The whole track, from the faithful recreation of the mansion's interior, to the original outside area with the walking trees of death. It all blends so well together. This track, much like its origin game, is a very fun one to play on. My only small complaint is that for some reason, the developers thought the player should spend more time outside the mansion than inside. Don't get me wrong, the outside part of the mansion is really fun with the mud and the moving trees, but wouldn't it have been cooler and probably better to have players drive through the mansion majority of the time instead, when, you know, it's in the frickin' title of the track? The music isn't spectacular or anything, but it fits in so well with the track itself, I just have to call it great. One more small little note that I adore in this track is the references to certain Luigi's Mansion portrait ghosts, including Chansey, Boolossus, This one, which I think is supposed to be Madame Clairvoyant, and finally, Bowser and King Boo. Love this track, easily going into the S tier. I don't have much to say about this course. I mean, it's really just another Mario Kart desert track, nothing new. It's got your pyramids, pokies, and your sand.
I don't like sand.
One thing that is sort of cool about this track is that certain background elements, namely these red pipes, yellow blocks, and especially the angry sun, reference Super Mario Bros. 3's desert levels, which is kind of neat. This doesn't change the fact that it's boring to play on the stage. There's nothing interesting about it. These turns at the end are sort of fun to jump off with boosts, but it's too dull. I can say the same about the music. It's dull and too much of a generic desert theme. Desert Hills easily goes into C tier, but is still going above Figure 8 Circuit, just because the layout is not as boring. Delfino Square is a really good stage. It succeeds in all three categories in some way or another. This track sort of gives us an alternate version of Delfino Plaza from Super Mario Sunshine, just being less vacation-like and feeling more city-like. It all looks really nice, especially the different parts of the city, such as the market and this park at the end with the iconic Speed Boost Bridge. It's a very fun track to play on because of these aspects too. It's also got cool shortcuts to master in the market area. However, the little street section near the beginning of the track, it's awful. This part of the track is way too small for comfort. This wouldn't be so bad if they didn't put 90-degree turns there. It makes these turns really hard to make without bumping into the wall and becoming nearly impossible to perfect on 150cc unless you have very specific carts. Thankfully though, the music greatly makes up for this as it takes a ton of inspiration from Delfino Plaza's theme, but putting its own spin on it to a point where I think it honestly sounds a lot better than Delfino Plaza. With all this in mind, I'm putting Delfino Square in A tier, above Yoshi Falls, just for the music being a little bit cooler. I'm gonna say it. Luigi Pinball is somewhat overrated. Don't get me wrong, this track is incredible in a plethora of different ways, but so many people act like this is the holy grail of all Mario Kart tracks, and, well, it isn't. I can applaud this track for the fact that it takes place in a pinball machine. That part is really cool, especially because you start at the beginning of the pinball machine like an actual ball, and then get shot to the top and slowly make your way down to the bottom. It's pretty cool, and the layout for the track helps with this aspect too, with all the curves at the beginning of the track. While the ending of the track is cool, I feel as if it's a little lackluster as you never really hit any of the obstacles unless you're actively trying. And finally, do I even need to mention this track's music? It's Luigi Pinball. This track is going in S tier but below Luigi's Mansion for reasons I can only describe as my own opinion. Shroom Rage is boring. It's a discount Moonview highway. It's just a boring road with some cars on it. There's nothing unique about this course whatsoever. Whenever someone mentions this track, my brain can only think of cars, but that isn't even unique because they already did that in Toad's Turnpike in Mario Kart 64. This translates to the layout as well. There's nothing interesting about it other than the fact that there's a couple of really sharp turns you have to make. The music in this track isn't even that good either. If anything, it falls into the same issue Figure 8 Circuit does, with the fact that it sounds more like off-brand menu music for the game. I refuse to go into this track anymore. It sucks. Easily going to the bottom of the list. What happens when you take Shroom Ridge and dip it in a container of Cool Whip? You get DK Pass. Why doesn't that make sense? Because this track doesn't make sense. This track is just another generic snow track. The turns at the beginning are pretty fun, but the rest of this track is not fun whatsoever. It's too boring. Also, why is it even called DK Pass? There is no indication that this is some Donkey Kong location like DK Mountain, where that track actually does feel like a Donkey Kong track. But here, it's just some random snowy road. One of the only cool things about this track is the random item box floating atop some hill that always contains a good item, such as a mushroom, triple mushrooms, a star, and a red shell, meaning it's possible to be in first place and get a star. It's a pretty cool secret that only exists in this track for some reason. But that doesn't redeem its other boring qualities, like this track's music. It's just okay, as it's just your average snow track. With all that being said, DK Pass goes into the C tier below Figure 8 Circuit. Much like Luigi's Mansion, Tick-Tock Clock is a really neat track because it also originates from a Mario game. This time in the main series, that of course being Super Mario 64. Everything about this stage is fun. Not only does it take place inside of a clock, but driving atop all these gears and cogs really make the track that much more enjoyable. There's so many set pieces that you can interact with, it's super fun. Like these iconic gears at the end of the race that let you get a little speed, assuming you choose the right one. Another neat little detail is the numbers in the background, as well as the swinging pendulums, which are the exact same ones that can be found in Super Mario 64. It's a really nice attention to detail. And for the music, oh dear lord, the music, it sounds so good. Like clockwork, no pun intended. The song itself somehow sounds like a whole bunch of clock parts moving around, and it makes this honestly the best song in the entire game. Hands down. Tick-Tock Clock is going to the very top of the list, above Luigi's Mansion. Sorry, Luigi. If you thought I hate Shroom Rage, then boy do I have some news for you. Mario's Circuit is a course you'd expect to see in the Mushroom Cup. Maybe as a substitute of Figure 8 Circuit. Or at least, that's what the game wants you to think, because Mario Circuit reuses the same track from Figure 8 Circuit. This means you guys already know my opinion of the music. Other than the laziness of the music choice, Mario Circuit offers nothing special or nothing new. The track design is very boring and copies much of Double Dash's elements, and the layout itself is so generic I've already forgotten how the track plays. These piranha plants that shoot fire at the beginning are kinda cool, I guess, but they're so slow you can barely label them as a hazard and go right past them. This is easily the worst track in the entire game, maybe even the worst Mario Kart track of all time. Mario Circuit goes at the bottom of the list, and please do not say otherwise. There is no way anybody confidently says Mario Circuit when asked what their favorite Mario Kart track is. Thankfully, right after Mario Circuit, you get to play on a much better track. That being, of course, Airship Fortress. This track is really good. One of my favorite things about Mario Kart tracks is when they almost tell a mini story when you race through it. Here it shows the scene of an airship attack on some castle. The details don't matter. All you need to know is that you've been thrown smack down right in the middle of it. The purple light of the sky gives off this menacing feeling of the airship you drive on, which seems to take inspiration from Super Mario Bros. 3, much like Desert Hills. Only this time, it's represented by crates filling the inside of the ship and rocky wrenches annoying you on the top of the ship. It's a nice little nod to the game. The track's layout is also really fun, most notably the tower section, where you drift down it and then get tossed back onto the broken part of the castle. While the music in this track isn't as good as the others, it does somewhat fit the theme of an airship assault quite well. Airship Fortress goes into A tier, below Yoshi Falls. I don't really have too much to say about Wario Stadium other than the fact that it's just alright. The theme is pretty cool even though it's already been done before in Mario Kart 64, but small additions here and there like bigger ramps and fireball rings really helps bring the overall feel of a stadium, which is pretty nice and makes the stage appealing to the eye. The layout of the track isn't special in any way whatsoever, so I won't go into detail for that. And for the music, while it is lazy to reuse the song from Luigi Pinball, it's Luigi Pinball! As I said, Wario Stadium is just an alright track, going into B tier below Cheep Cheep Beach. Peach Gardens is a really unique track in the game, as it doesn't really take inspiration from anywhere, but also manages to feel grand on the caliber that Tick-Tock Clock in Luigi's Mansion does. Peach Gardens is a very appealing stage visually. Green hedges absolutely everywhere, mixed with some flower beds and fountains, and even loose chain chomps everywhere to make it feel like your own dog digging up weeds in the backyard. The layout of the stage is also very unique in the sense that you end up avoiding a bunch of the aforementioned flowers and hedges. It's fun to avoid in order to stay in first place, while at the same time not feeling too random or annoying to deal with. Like for example, you wouldn't expect this layout right here to be enjoyable in any way whatsoever, but surprisingly, it is. Especially mixed with the chain chomps dragging item boxes behind them. As for this track's music, it's pretty good. It's definitely the weaker part of the track, but that doesn't make it bad in any way, shape, or form. It's actually quite nice. Overall, Peach Gardens is a great track, putting it in the S tier above Luigi's Mansion. Yes, you read that right. For some strange reason in Mario Kart Super Circuit and Mario Kart DS, these tracks leave the S out of the name, so it's just Bowser Castle. Thankfully, the track itself doesn't include anything stupid like that. Bowser Castle is pretty good for what it's worth. It has all the elements you'd expect in a Bowser's Castle track. Long hallways, thwomps, lava, a random spinning cylinder floating in the sky. Okay, that last one you wouldn't really expect, but it's a cool part of the track nonetheless. This track is fun to play on because of these elements mainly. Its layout is pretty similar to the other Bowser's Castle tracks in the series, so it's nothing out of the ordinary. The music is also just about what you would expect, a menacing theme with a really smooth beat. There's not much else to say about this track. Bowser Castle is going to go in A tier, below Airship Fortress. Rainbow Road is a Mario Kart staple much like Bowser's Castle, except being able to drive in space and violently pushing your opponents back to Earth down below is way cooler than some evil castle. Unfortunately, in the case of Mario Kart DS, Rainbow Road isn't nearly as cool. There isn't even anything unique about this track, which is a shame because uniqueness is something this game is stellar at. The only cool part about this track is the big loop you drive on midway through the track. This isn't a bad stage or anything, it just doesn't feel as grand as the other renditions in the series, past or future. Some set pieces also don't make sense, most notably these random pipes that are just there for some reason, and these big random stars. The music itself doesn't feel very grand either. It does the job of being a solid Rainbow Road theme, but it doesn't come close to the likes of others like Double Dash and Mario Kart Wii. Somehow, I've decided to put Rainbow Road in B tier, below Wario Stadium. Yes, that's right. This arena, right here, is somehow more fun than this supposedly fun space adventure. And with that, every Nitro track in Mario Kart DS has been ranked. I'm sure many of you are surprised at this list, most notably the ranking of Rainbow Road and maybe Luigi Pinball. Overall, I'd say Mario Kart DS is a pretty solid lineup of tracks. While the lows in the game can get incredibly low, such as in the case of Mario Circuit, the highs definitely make up for it, with the likes of Tick-Tock Clock and all the other S-tier tracks. As I said earlier, unique is a term I would use to describe this lineup of tracks. It's something Mario Kart DS does best that most installments in the franchise aren't really able to pull off as well. I think in order to compare it to other Mario Kart games, I'll have to sit down and thoroughly rank every Nitro track just like I did for this game. This video was really fun to make, and while I thought this project seemed a little daunting for my first major one on YouTube, I can definitely say it was incredibly fun. If you did enjoy this video and somehow made it all the way to the end, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as the bell icon so you can get notified whenever I post. With all that being said, thank you very much for watching. My name is Alex the Bot, and I wish you all a good day.